Yo, welcome back. Gonna be doing something really similar to a couple of days ago, with the Fisherman King activations. How we could, activate the King Tower with, all the cards. Or not all the cards, but you know what I mean. All the cards that are able to get activated that are able to activate the King Tower with the Fisherman. This time we're doing it with the Tornado. Obviously the Tornado is a lot more versatile than the Fisherman because obviously it's a spell. It's the most unique spell too, right? It's the only one that really like pulls shit in like that. So yeah, let's hop into it. The first one that's really important and it can help you win games is against wall breakers. So let's say they go wall breakers, they have to go on one lane. You can do a placement like this, and this is the placement. That's kind of like the standard placement that you use for pretty much every king activation in the game. Honestly, let me get back to it right here. This is the placement that's kind of standard for every king activation. It will work for almost like every card. And then as well as one tile lower. And depending on if stuff is like on the inside right here, you can even go a tile lower. So let me show an example. So right here we have the Goblin Giant. Obviously you'd be like, how can you activate the king off a Goblin Giant? It's so big. But what you do is you basically just let it connect. And since it's such a big like hitbox, you just drop a tornado like this. And obviously the Spirit Goblins are on your tower. But you do pull it to the King Tower. If you want, you could drop like a Knight or something like right here to block the Spirit Goblins and have the whatever it's called, have the Goblin Giant just punch the tower. Yeah, against like a Hog Rider, it's the standard placement. It would just be like this, and then you just pull it straight to the King Tower like this. Okay, so there's some also that won't be using the standard placement. One would be the Bowler. So the Bowler obviously is a little bit weird because it doesn't like goes straight to the tower. You know how it has like pretty long range. But what you can do is you can drop a card, like this, and then you NATO it in, and then the Bowler, as you could tell, it hit my King Tower, and yeah, it can be very useful because a lot of those times Bowler decks will run something like E-Giant or Giant Graveyard, and that can win you the game against Graveyard, right? So yeah, against a mini P.E.K.K.A, what you do is you can just do the standard placement like this. And be careful because sometimes they'll try to pop the ability so that it doesn't work. So yeah, you just got to be careful about that. And against the Lumberjack as well, you can just do the standard placement right here. Even if it's like really low HP, like just the rage damage will be able to activate, just kind of like with the Fishman. So if someone goes with a Ram Runner, it has to be like on the inside tile, kind of like that. What you do is you let it connect, and then you can pull it to the King Tower like that. So it's the standard. Just one tile, or I guess this is standard, but yeah, it'd be like super low. Like right here, the Ram Rider did get pulled to my King Tower, as you can obviously tell. Against the Royal Ghost is really easy. It's not going to be using the standard one because it just doesn't have enough radius. But what you do is you let it connect like this, and you can just pull it like this. You have to let it get a hit if they place it on the very side. Like, obviously play it on the very side. You can fully pull it if they don't. Like, you can pull it without taking any damage on your crown tower if they put it towards the center. Okay, so here it is when they have a ghost like in the middle, kind of. Like sometimes it will be placed like that. But what you do is you just do the standard placement. You just got to do it a little bit like earlier, I guess. You don't want it to hit your tower. And yeah, just like that, I pulled to my King Tower without it being like without even eating any damage. So if they drop Elite Barbarians, what you could do is just let them like connect, kind of like. I don't know, you could just like always pull one, with like this placement or whatever. Like you will activate the king. It kind of gets the job done, but obviously this is the anti-tornado placement. It is literally impossible to pull it to your tower, to your King Tower with this placement. It won't work. Don't even try it. That's why like pros will always play the miner here because they don't want to risk King Tower activation. But yeah, obviously when they don't put a miner in that spot, you can just go like, with a miner, like let's say it's put in the back, you obviously just like bring it to the tower. It's really not that hard. Literally, as long as it isn't on this placement, like literally right here, or sometimes they'll put it super far, like right. But kind of like, most cards, you can activate the King Tower off of Berserker. You basically just do this, and yeah, it did hit the King Tower even with the King Tower. Everyone knows you can just drop a card like this, for example, on the Firecracker. Obviously the Firecracker will hit the King Tower, but maybe you don't have any troops or something. You don't have any troops you want to cycle. You can activate it with just a tornado. Okay, so here it is when you do the Firecracker, or when you tornado in the Firecracker. What you do is you like tornado it in like this. And yeah, see how I lost a little bit of damage. Okay, so sometimes you can activate the king as well with a magic archer kind of like the bowler one. What you do is you just drop a card like low or whatever, and then you just like tornado it in. Yeah, so like that, you can see how I tornadoed it so it could line up with the tower. So another one you could do is like the executioner, right? The executioner is, you know, similar to the bowler. Obviously, you just like put a troop here, and then you pull it in. Not too difficult. So yeah, let me drop a fire spirit, and then yeah. So as you can see, the executioner did hit my king tower. So sometimes they'll go royal hogs, obviously, right? And you can pull like a royal hog or two to the king tower. You just like. You can just like, you know, pull it like that. Just like that, I pulled 2. You can activate the king as well with a bandit. So let's say they go bandit here. You have to obviously tank the charge, but you can just do this. You know, you let it charge, and then, yeah, you just pull to the king tower like that. Okay, let's say someone has a Valkyrie coming down the lane. If it is on the inside like this, you know, not on the outside, if it's on the inside, you can pull to the king tower. So yeah, see how the placement like this? Just like that, it goes to... So let's say someone has an elixir golem coming down your lane. Obviously, you can't pull the big one. Obviously, this is not really ever going to happen because why would you pull? You're going to eat so much damage, right? If you only have a tornado. Like, you can't pull the whole thing to the king tower. It just doesn't. It has too much range or whatever. But when it does pop, you are able to, you know, pull that bitch to the king tower like this. Obviously, not really going to be useful in a big game because, you know, you eat so much damage. But I did say every card. So let's say someone goes with the skeleton barrel in the normal spot, like here. You can just use a tornado in the standard placement, and you just do this. And yeah, as you can see, the whole thing will go to the king tower. You'll take 0 damage, but, you know, obviously, it won't always be perfect like that. Sometimes they'll place it on the very far side, like right here, and this is how you... So what you want to do is you do want to do 1 tile higher, and it's not going to be as perfect as, you know, the other one, but yes, you can pull to the king tower. You will take like a hit or 2. Okay, yeah. 3 hits looks like only 200 damage though. You do get the king activation as well. Okay, so what you could do against the Mega Knight obviously is pull to the middle of like skeletons or a spear and then just tornado it for 0 damage. But you could also just let it jump like this and then just pull it like this and it will go after your... So yeah, against Mother Witch, you can pull it to the king tower just like this, kind of just like royal hogs. It's usually... You can also do it against 1 pig. But I have the king activated, so I don't think it would have worked. But yeah, that's basically what you would do it against a Mother Witch. So yeah, if they go with like a Goblin Barrel in the center spot, you can pull every Goblin to the King Tower like this. As you can see, I did. Sometimes they'll try to put it in the like tornado one, kind of. But you can still pull it. It's just a little bit like, you'll eat a little bit more damage. But yeah, as you can see, this Goblin hit my tower. It does work even when it's like same level or whatever, so... Just because it was +1 level, you know, it didn't matter. So against the Goblin Drill, let's say they place it in the front like this. What you can do is you can just eat the first Goblin hit and then just pull to the King Tower like that. And then you can just like log it down. So you only take 1 hit, you get the King Tower activation. It should help against future drills. If they go with the Goblin Drill on the side, you can activate the King Tower still. You basically just like... Actually, I don't know if I can because I have the King already up. But yeah, that would have gone after the King as you can see, but the King Tower was up. Sometimes someone will have an Inferno Dragon towards the inside like that, right? If they like... cycle up behind their King Tower. And yeah, if they do that, you can actually activate the King Tower. So yeah, you basically just place it like this, and the Inferno Dragon like flies out of range of the Crown Tower, and we'll go after the what's it called? The King Tower. This does work as well with the Baby Dragon. You could do basically the same thing though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, you just do this, and notice how the Baby Dragon, you know, it turns around and goes to the King Tower. Kinda like the dragons and stuff. If they have a, what's it called, a Phoenix in the middle, you can pull to the tower, to the King Tower. You know, obviously Phoenix is not a meta card or anything, but it has enough HP so that you are able to pull to the King Tower just like this. I think you can do it without hit, but I'm asked. Okay, so since the healer can hover, sometimes it will like go over the King Tower, or go over the river, sorry, like that. And when it does go over the river, it's a pretty easy King activation. You just pull it like this, and yeah, can be really helpful against Golem, E-Golem, whatever they have. Let's say they have a Knight coming down. Like the other cards that are melee, it has to be on the inside tile like that, and then you will be able to pull to the King Tower, I believe. So yeah, just like that, with that placement, you can pull to the King Tower. Okay, so let's say they go Goblins here. You know, if they go Goblins, you are able to pull it to the King Tower pretty easily. You just, you know, you just take like, okay, well, depending on the placement, you know, you can get 0 damage like that. Little bit, you might take a hit or two if they place it on the outside, but you can still pull it. You know, you know, this brawler's about to pop. Here it is. So the Golem Brawler, you just do the standard placement right here. You could do a tall down if you want to tank a hit, but why would you tank a hit? You just do that. And yeah, it did hit my tower. So yeah, kind of like, you know, all the other melee troops. If a Mighty Miner's coming down, you know, it's a little bit risky, but yeah, you just pull it to the King Tower like this. And the only reason really it's risky is because they could pop the ability or something like that and it wouldn't be able to pull. Another one that's very, very useful is against Balloon. So the only possible way to get 0 hits against Balloon is if you pull it to the tower or if you like snowball it away to the side and then you pull it. But if you don't have any of those, then a Tornado last second like that will pull the Balloon to the King Tower every single time. You just take 1 hit, no death damage. Let's say they have a boss pin on the inside like this. As long as they don't have an ability, you are able to pull it to the King Tower like this. You only take 1 hit, but obviously they can just ability it. Let's say the ability right here. It will go obviously back to the Crown Tower, so it is a little bit risky, but you know, sometimes it can work in your favor. So yeah, like a lot of the other melee cards, if there's a monk coming down the middle, you should be able to pull to the King Tower like this. Yeah, just like that, pulls it to the middle. Okay, so sometimes someone will go with a graveyard. Usually it's with a tank, but let's say, yeah, let's say you only have a really tornado. You can sometimes do a really lucky tornado, and as you can see, I did bring a skeleton to my King Tower, activated off that, and obviously if you're able to do that while not taking too much damage on this defense, you will usually be able to win the game off that. So let's say there's Rascals. Obviously it has to be on the inside, pretty much like everything. So first of all, you're going to have to want to defend these girls or whatever, but you know, you can just do the typical placement, and yeah, against Rascals, you will be able to activate like that. So let's say someone does have the Rune Giant, has to obviously be in the middle, or like in the inside tile, once again, like all the other things. But yeah, I'll show you how to pull it with the Rune Giant. Just like that, you know, the standard placement for all those like melee units, it will pull the Rune Giant. Now, let's say someone has a Goblin Machine. Goblin Machine! But anyways, you can pull it. It's a little bit odd. But, yeah, let's say you just do this. I don't think it'll go after it, but the Goblin Rocket will. So, yeah, let's say someone has a Prince coming down the middle. You will have to, unfortunately, let it just slap your tower away with a charge. But you are able to pull it into your tower. But, you know, like I said, it has to be like in the middle, kind of like this. You can do the same with the Dark Prince. It's not unique to just the Prince. But yeah, it charges on your tower. And then you just pull it like this. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video. That's how you activate the King with just a Tornado. You know, a lot of them aren't really going to be used ever. You know, there's, I think technically a couple more, maybe with like the Recruits or something. But it's kind of like the Eagle one. Like, there's no point because, like, why would you use just a Tornado just to pull in, like, to pull in Recruits? You'll literally lose both towers if you do that. Kind of like the Eagle one, you will literally, like, lose your whole tower, so there's no point. You know, in practice, you will never do it in a real game. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, at least for some of the cards. Yeah, but a lot of them do take just being on the inside tile. But, yeah, appreciate everyone for watching, and peace.